I want to know why this is still the best kept secret in hammock camping. Hey everybody, welcome to Backpacking with Buckley. And today, let's talk about hammock camping's best kept secret. Or is it? This hammock has been rated #1 winter hammock by Backpacker magazine, and maybe more importantly, has shown in a lot of videos by a little guy we may know as Shug. If you don't know who Shug is, then you probably haven't hammock camped for very long, and you should check him out. But anyway, let's cut to the chase. Today I'm here to talk about Superior Gear Hammocks, and most specifically, my opinion on them 1 year later. On a recent trip to Minnesota, Rob and I were invited to tour Superior Gear Hammocks. Owner Danny Warnock showed us the very first hammock he ever made. In addition, he showed us some new and innovative ideas he's playing with. Danny even joined us for a camp and showed off the new Cocoon.
I'm really excited about this. This is a fairly new product called the Cocoon, and it's a thin layer rated just 50 degrees officially, but it zips on here.
And that's a conservative rating, right?
It's very conservative, yep.
All right. Zips on and completely encloses your toe end, right?
Yep. Yeah, it goes all the way up here, just nice and airtight. Also holds everything in, keeps stuff from falling out.
So this is my first Superior Gear hammock. This is a 30-degree hammock. If you aren't aware of how Superior Gear works, it has integrated underquilt. In other words, the insulation is sewn right into the hammock. And this has become, hands down, my favorite feature of this hammock, and what I think is the most underrated and underthought quality that you could ever have. And let me tell you why. Personally, I believe that I don't like any fidget factor, as Rob Pelton would say, when it comes to underquilts and things like that. When you get it out here, it's nice to just hang it up and not have to worry about figuring out where to hang your underquilt. But the most important and best feature of this particular item is that this does not have any inconsistency whatsoever. In other words, you are going to be warm from head to toe because the down is sewn in appropriately for how to stay warm at night instead of any slipping or sliding, cold spots. The only thing that anybody that owns one of these that has to do once in a while is make sure to what they call migrate their down from one end to the other. If they are noticing any cold spots, it's as simple as that. You just move the down to where it needs to be, because these baffles are long enough where from occasion you need to go from head to toe and make sure that the down is in there evenly. Now I'm going to show you some things close up on how the straps work, how the snaps look close up, how the Topquilt that I have here, also a very underrated product, can also snap on as an underquilt extremely easily. And by that I mean literally just snap on. Today I had it hanging without even using my suspension system, and it is like a designed to do what it does. And you'll see that in a minute. Shown here is my Superior Gear quilt. It easily snaps onto the outside of the hammock for an extra added layer of insulation. It can also be used as a top quilt and is very underrated in that respect. Here's an example of how fast I move, in addition to how easily the bottom quilt snaps off. Using shock cord and snaps, it easily becomes a top quilt with a full foot box. Although not well shown in this video, there's also a down plug that plugs the hole at the end of the foot box. As this hammock is netless, a favorite feature of mine is that I can snap it together while I'm away, so my quilt doesn't fall out. Another simple but awesome feature is the stuff sack becomes a ridgeline organizer. Shown here are the Superior hammock straps, which are easily loosened by pulling on the one tab, and tightened by simply pulling on the strap. I've found these to be my favorite straps, as they easily go around very large trees. But one thing I want to note is that I have a 15-degree top quilt and a 30-degree hammock, and I have slept comfortably at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and I mean that legitimately. These both go well beyond their limits, and each limit you can guarantee almost is a comfort limit for those of you that are cold sleepers. So in other words, you could easily sleep warm at 30 degrees, even if you're one of those cold sleepers. So before we get into it, let's check out my other Superior Gear hammock. All right, so this is my 45 degree Elite hammock. But before I dive into this, I want to mention that something I really have always wanted to just say out loud, and I'm about to do it now. If you're familiar with the Dutchware Chameleon, which hence the name, has the ability to morph and have all sorts of features and add-ons and things like that, I'm going to come out and say that I believe this is much more of a versatile system than the Dutchware Chameleon. And let me tell you why. So I'll show you a little bit later how this actually snaps on, but this zippered bug net hammock also has snaps on the outside so that you can add an underquilt. One of Superior Gear's top quilts work perfectly, actually ideally, because they literally are designed to snap onto the outside. Now the owner, Danny, who I will show you a little footage of me touring his little shop in his house, took out a 45 degree hammock with a 45 degree top quilt snapped onto the bottom, and then slept with his new cocoon, which I don't have yet, and a 45 degree top quilt at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're kind of getting the gist that you can really morph this into a 4-season hammock, because you can sleep in a 45 degree hammock really comfortably in hot temperatures, and you can also sleep in it in cold temperatures by adding one of his top quilts. So in other words, in comparison to the Chameleon, you already have the underquilt built in. So this is my, what I would call my 3-season rig. In other words, I bring this when it's about 40 degrees Fahrenheit or above. And I have the ability to take top quilts and snap them on appropriately. And they have the same consistency that I mentioned earlier, because they're snapped on and in place right where they need to be. In addition to all those features, I believe Danny will be coming out with many more add-ons. One that I showed you was probably just the simplest one, which is the stuff set becomes a ridgeline organizer. He does have that cocoon, which I mentioned, which is a zip-on 50 degree cocoon that comes up to about your neck and zips enclosed all the way down here to your foot box. And to combat not having a bug net, if you're in that kind of in-between season when there's bugs but it's still cold, he has what he calls a half bug net, which will hang right here, and the cocoon covers your feet from bugs, and you have yourself one of those in-between rigs. So I think I've explained thoroughly enough just how versatile this hammock can be, and yet another one of those features that I'm just blown away by, that Danny doesn't have a factory the size of a football field. All right, so let's dive into the 45 degree Elite hammock. I didn't mention my 30 degree also is with the Elite upgrades. It's probably a good time to talk about price. These things are not cheap, so my number one recommendation would be you either sleep in some hammocks of some sort, or if you're lucky enough to know somebody with a Superior Gear hammock, try it out before you invest. The biggest important factor being that hammock camping is not for everybody. And I would say that the only competition to Superior Gear hammocks would be a completely different design, which is called the bridge hammock. And myself, I am too much of a gram weenie to carry the extra weight that they entail, but you may look into those and see that that may be, in my opinion, one of the only competitions to what I think is the best hammock on the market. The 45 degree Elite Superior Gear hammock, I actually ordered. It has double zippers on both sides, by the way, so dual entry. You can get out to pee on either side. But I ordered it with the new Cloud 71 fabric. Now, I think in the interest of transparency, no pun intended, I should note that Danny does not offer this anymore. He has found that though this fabric does not break down, sometimes it has a little bit more of a stretch quality, and he has had a few hammocks break down in the underquilt portion of it. I know Danny would easily take care of that if that were to happen to anybody, but just to be safe, he has eliminated this as an option currently. So the Cloud 71 inner and the 45 degree Elite fabrics with 950 fill power down. This weighs in at, I believe, 23 ounces. I will put the correct information on there if I'm wrong. And this is my baby. So I love this thing. I've spent well over 20 to 30 nights in it. And between that and my 30 degree hammock, it's hands down the best option for a lot of people out there who camp in 3 or 4 season hammock weather. As you can see, in addition to the zipper, there are also snaps on the outside to allow for additional quilts to be snapped on. I've also found the detachable bug net to be just fine as well. As a matter of fact, It allows for absolutely silent peeing at night, as compared to that noisy zipper. At just 3.5 ounces, Superior Gear also offers the Elite straps, which are just used with a whoopee sling and some webbing. The only downfall is this can only go around trees with a diameter of 4 feet or less. So after 1 year of owning not one, but 2 Superior Gear hammocks, my final thoughts are this. I am absolutely anxiety-ridden over the idea that this company wouldn't exist anymore. And that's not to say that I don't believe they will, because they're amazing. And again, they're getting some real traction. I think it's really good to support cottage companies. And I think Danny, although he is a friend of mine, it's important to note that we didn't start off as friends. That's not to mean we were enemies, but before I invested in his hammock, I got to know him a little bit, which is another benefit of a cottage company, is he messaged me back and forth when I had questions. And after I ordered a Superior Gear hammock is when we became friends. So in terms of my bias or lack thereof in this video, I want to be completely honest with you and say that this is not at all because of my friendship with the owner. My friendship developed after owning one. And I really do fear not being able to get a Superior Gear hammock someday. So it might be kind of my motivation for doing some of these videos, but I think the hammocks will speak for themselves, and Danny is going to do really well for himself in this realm. So in other words, my rating on the Superior Gear hammock on the Buckley scale of 5 is absolutely simple and easy. It's a 5 out of 5. I've spent some of the most comfortable nights of my life in the backcountry in a Superior Gear hammock, and I can't imagine ever going back. So if you're not sure where to find them, superiorgear.com is the first place to start. I will put a link to his website down below. I get no kickbacks from this. I'm only doing it because I believe that this company is awesome, and I will continue to do this because I think that Danny and his hardworking team at Superior Gear Hammocks are just simply the best. So again, thanks for joining us at Backpacking with Buckley. Be yourself. Be happy. We'll catch you on the next adventure, everybody.